Hey there, it's me, Tia Torres, and we are back with some more wild instincts. Now, I think the last time, if we are checking in with each other, I had just become a fashionista, right? Introducing the mini skirt or the mini dress, uh, to this little, lost in time island. And speaking of Sri Lanka, um, and I know I talked about what it was like there as far as like it was a very congested place. And again, I was in the city of Candy with a K. Uh, in looking up the statistics, it was about um Candy itself now, about 11 square miles big. And in that scope, the population currently is about 125,000 people. Okay, does that give you an idea of how many people are in that small of an area? It was so, and again, it was Sri Lanka was a beautiful country, but and I didn't travel to other parts. I just stayed in Candy, mostly. And it was so dirty. Oh my God, it was so dirty. It was bad. So when we were out in the jungle, when we were out on location filming, and I mean, we saw some of the most beautiful scenery ever. As a matter of fact, the cinematographer, God, his name slips my mind. The lead cameraman, he had such a beautiful backdrop of which to film. Just the nature, the animals, the trees. It was just beautiful. And the jungle is a beautiful place. So just outside the city itself was absolutely gorgeous. Now, during my time there, I did befriend he would be the on-site animal coordinator, meaning the person who was hired from Sri Lanka itself that knew the nature there, how animals were, had some background in animal handling, knew the culture, knew the lay of the land. And our animal coordinator was Brian McMillan himself, the man who owned the animal company that we traveled with. So there was some headbutting that happened during the course of filming the movie. Jeffrey was the hired on-site animal coordinator, and he and Brian, there was a lot of alpha male stuff happening. Brian McMillan, as I explained before, was English, British, and as someone who grew up around many people from the UK, the British can be very, very headstrong, and they hold nothing back when it comes to speaking their mind. And then Jeffrey was very, he was different than the rest of the people in Sri Lanka. Okay, now, what I'm about to say, I don't mean to be insulting. I don't mean it to be insulting, but the men, particularly in Sri Lanka, yes, they resemble people from India because it's so close. So of course, there's a lot of, similarities. They're not very big. They're thin. Some short, some tall, but they're very thin. And Jeffrey was not like that. He was a big, muscular dude. We called him Tarzan, actually. He was not as dark-skinned as the typical Sri Lankans. I asked him, actually, how come you don't really look like them? And he explained it in a way that he was of Berger descent, Berger. I never looked it up to see what it was, but apparently it's a little bit different. And he was very what they call westernized, and that's what we were called over there. We were Westerners. So when the people from Sri Lanka said, you were westernized, it meant you were kind of ahead of them when it comes to, what's going on out there in the world. So Jeffrey was very educated, and but again, he was very headstrong. So somehow he and I became close. And if you want to get into the juicy details, we became closer. So we became like boyfriend and girlfriend. Now, mind you, I did leave behind a relationship that was fractious, which was Mariah, my daughter Mariah's father. We were never married, but we had so many problems in our relationship. At this point, I had been with him, let's see, Mariah was 5, so I'd been with him 5 years. And it was 5 years of him cheating constantly on me, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. He partied every night practically. It got to the point where the cheating was almost blatantly and out in the open. So, I was not happy, but I was not financially able to leave. I had 2 kids, and at this point, Via Lobos Rescue Center was going strong. I had all these wolf dogs and had just tiptoed into the pit bull world. So we had nowhere to go. So when I met Jeffrey, it was there. Interestingly enough, my pit bull Tatanka that I had with me, she didn't really, she was sweet with him, but I noticed some behavioral changes with her, which is going to play into another episode here in a minute. I would come back to my hotel room and Tatanka had started peeing on my bed, like getting up on top of my bed and peeing. So, of course, we took her to the vet. It was nothing medical. And then I said, you know what? She's not liking me spending time with somebody else. Because back home, John was always gone. So, there was nothing to get jealous over. But with Jeffrey, he was showing me the island. He was showing me some amazing, we were both into animals. So it was really cool. So I had that to contend with, her peeing on the bed, and she didn't crate. So that was not an option. So I had to, oh God, you can only flip your mattress over so many times before there's just no more spots to clean up. I know, disgusting, right? Getting a plastic sheet over my bed or tarp, while it sounds so easy to do, guys, this was like the early 90s in Sri Lanka. It was like we were back in time. Like they didn't have stuff. I don't remember if I told you this in a former episode, but there was one time that I needed a broom, a real broom. Because all they had were the kind that you see, it was the stereotypical brooms that you see witches flying around on, So I wanted like a real broom. And they told me that they would have to like basically go find one. And it took them 4 days to bring me back my broom. And they told me that they had to go to the main capital of Colombo to get me a broom. It was a bigger city. So getting a plastic tarp over my mattress, not an option. So I started to come up with stories. I needed another mattress because I spilled something on it. I couldn't get the stain or the smell out. And I did that a few times, guys. I did that a few times. So what was my option? Not go out with Jeffrey anymore? I don't know. But thankfully, at that point I figured it out. You know what, Tonka, you're going to have to start coming to work with me. So I started bringing her to the animal compound. Couldn't take her when we went on location though. So that did help some. I thought she'd want to like lay in the room with the fans on her and be out of the hot sun, but no, she wanted to come with me. Now, for all intents and purposes, Jeffrey was very he was very polite, he was very nice to me, but he was also very stern. I started to see him become a little more possessive as the relationship, unfolded. Now, someone who is in a relationship, meaning myself, where the man is not paying any attention to me, he's actually cheating on me, this felt kind of good. Now looking back, it was a sign, but I didn't realize it at the time. So, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. But it was definitely something. And I don't know how long we had been going out, but we were on a location somewhere. It's some big, I want to call it a palace. I don't remember. And in the front of it was this big fountain that had like a little pond around it. And a bunch of us animal trainers were sitting there just kind of cooling off next to the fountain. And Jeffrey was kind of down the driveway. And I wanted to tell him something. I don't remember the details. And I'm yelling his name, and he can't hear me. Too far away. So I'm waiting for him to like look my way. And I stretch out my arm with my pointy finger. And I did the thing where you do like, come here. And you take your pointy finger and you like bring it towards you. Like, come here. So like, come here. I'm trying to tell him to come here because he can't hear me. So whoever he was talking to, I see him like excuse himself and he comes walking towards me with a purpose. And I'm like, why does he look like he's kind of mad? And, I'm like, okay. As he gets closer to me, he grabs me by the back of my neck. No warning. And shoves my face into the water. Just for a second. Pulls me back up. And he gets really close to me. He goes, don't you ever point and command me to come to you like that again. And then walks away. And of course, the other trainers and I were like, what? Call the police. Call the police, And our driver and our translator, very nice guy, married, lots of kids, sweet guy. He comes over and I'm like, and I forgot the man's name and I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God, do you see what he just did? And he says to me, he goes, Tia, you have to understand something. The culture here is different. You insulted him in front of everybody. Like, you're the woman. You don't do that. You don't act like that. It was very, very disrespectful. Because I understand you Westerners are different. And I went, oh. He goes, yeah, he wasn't being mean to you. You insulted him. So that kind of put things into perspective. Did I continue to go out with him? Yes. But you had to have been there. Like I said, he wasn't like an abusive man. It was just the way they were. So, there you have it. I have just spilled the tea. Yes, Tia had a relationship, a foreign relationship overseas in the jungles of Sri Lanka. I was dating Tarzan. Come on now. You can't hate me for that. Okay. Well, I got lots more adventures coming up. So be sure to stay wild and follow your instincts. And we'll see you on the next episode of Wild Instincts.